Trump mug doesn't have a handle, I got a little frustrated. But I'm still drinking out of it, right? So good morning. Let's all say it together. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Okay, that's not what I came here to say. Oh my Lord, I should have looked in the mirror before I did this. At least I put my glasses on this time so I can see. I'm just here to cheer everybody up if I can. This is crazy, but you know what's not crazy and that I love? You guys are writing the most stellar comments under Shelley Moore Capito's little announcement as to why she acquitted him the way she did. And she basically followed the Mitch McConnell playbook, which we all knew she probably would, because they're basically saying, we know he's guilty, but we're not going to convict him on the grounds that we don't care he's guilty. Fuck that shit. I mean, you know what's the only couple of good things that came out of the Trump administration? I can cuss in public now. Okay, because I know from the Brandenburg ruling that I learned about during your criminal trial, your impeachment trial, which is preceding your imminent criminal trial. Anyway, I learned all about Brandenburg and what that precedent means. And I learned all about my free speech rights. I knew I could say whatever the fuck I wanted to say in America. And I know there are consequences sometimes for speech because I'm not a fucking idiot. Donald John Trump. But I'll never incite an insurrection. I'll never even incite anything but applause and hopefully straight up fist pumps. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has time for your violence and your BS, ego-driven, authoritarian, dictatorship wannabe bullshit. Okay, excuse me, I don't speak for anybody right now but myself. This is not a representation of the Democratic Party. This is not a reputation, this is not a reflection upon or a representation of any party. Not all the way left and not all the way right, and frankly, not even in the center. This is a whole new thing, okay? I know people have called stuff our revolution before, but folks, it is on. Okay, and we have a playbook laid out for us by our beloved Stacey Abrams. Okay, we can and we know how to turn our red state blue. And what it takes is a 10-year long plan, folks. Okay, we might face defeat next time. We might face defeat the next time. The next time after that, I don't think we will. I don't even think we're going to face defeat soon. Okay, because people are pissed, especially people who followed him thinking he was their commander-in-chief, and rightfully so because he was the commander-in-chief. People who followed him into that mess, people who did what he said and encouraged subconsciously and consciously throughout his whole entire presidency, quasi-presidency, and leading up to it, most especially in the months leading to the insurrection. And you cannot doubt it after the fact that he changed a rally that was going to happen by known white supremacists. Why are we saying white nationalists? Freaking Klansmen under new names who still need to hide their faces in shame under freaking white hoods so we can identify them. At least we can still identify them by their stupid seditionist Confederate flags. But anyway, yeah, so I learned all about, speaking of the KKK, I learned all about my Brandenburg protected free speech. And bitch, and I'm talking to you, Shelley Moore Capito, I'm coming for your seat. You know what? I might not be the one sitting in it. I recognize that I don't really have the disposition, at least not at this moment, to be fitting with the current decorum within the Senate, at least not when it's being used appropriately. Although now I suppose, according to you, it's okay for other people to use it to just parade around the lectern and take pictures of classified documents and, threaten to hang the vice president who's in your political party and was a lapdog to your freaking hero, Donald fucking Trump, Donald John Trump, as in John, as in user of a lot of prostitutes and sex workers, as in people who have no other means to support themselves, or people who choose to do it as a form of work, the oldest profession. I'm not advocating for that shit, but I am advocating for you guys not to judge that shit, because we're not judging you anymore. Those of you who did vote for Trump, those of you who did support him up until you saw what he incited and you saw him attacking his blue lives that supposedly matter. He saw that on TV. You know that motherfucker was on TV. And if Fox News didn't cover it, which I know when I was watching Mitch McConnell, when at that time, at that very last moment, you know what he was? He was Senate Majority Leader for a few more minutes when he delivered what I thought was an indicative speech of how he was going to vote. But it turns out it was all smoke and mirrors. He wasn't telling them to vote their conscience. He was telling them to vote Trump's conscience. But anyway, I don't know their dog whistles quite yet. I haven't figured all that out. But I did watch Mitch McConnell deliver the only speech I've ever agreed with. Then I watched a couple of other people get up there. And then I watched those, and I was on Fox News because I try to keep myself balanced. And I don't mean in terms of like, I would ever agree with anything on that side of the balance, but I at least need to know what's being force-fed and indoctrinated into the heads of those around me who are otherwise pretty normal and, seemingly sweet people, until you find out that they believe in all this crap. But anyway, y'all think it's fine for those people to parade inside our Senate chambers in our house as they were chanting? You know whose house it is too? Democrats, especially right now. You know what? We told y'all there would be a blue tidal wave. Y'all didn't believe it. Well, I would like for you to check yourself before you wreck yourself, because we have a majority in the House, we have a majority in the Senate, and we have the top administrative powers. You know what that's called? 3 branches of government. You know what that's called? A balance of power. Have you ever heard of checks and balances? No. Oh, wait, hold on a minute, Shelley Moore Capito. I know why you don't understand that, because your father is a fucking criminal. Okay? We all thought maybe you would rise above it to clear that name and to clear the name of Capito throughout history or whatever. But you know what Capito is now going to be associated with? The Capitol insurrection, where murders occurred against blue lives that do matter. And you know what other lives matter? Black lives matter. And yeah, that does mean all lives matter. But we can't say all lives matter first until we acknowledge and treat people as if Black lives matter, because they do fucking matter. Okay? They more than matter. They add everything that's good to our society, if you want to know the freaking truth, okay? I have known a lot of Black people. I was raised in the deep South, okay? One of my first loves was a Black man, and I still have the highest respect for him to this day. I was in a play against racism with the very famous Chris Chalk, which actually isn't his, well, I shouldn't tell you, but anyway, Chris Chalk, who y'all have seen in 7 Years a Slave, who y'all have seen in Newsroom, who y'all have seen in, what was the most recent thing? It wasn't The Joker, but it was on TV. It was based in the DC universe, and he was the African-American character who played like kind of a nemesis guy, but I don't really know because I didn't watch that one, but I do have the ultimate respect for my buddy. Long story short, he and I were in a play under the esteemed Mr. Matthews at Asheville High School, where we ended up doing a tour because we got noticed. And you know who wrote that play? It was an ensemble piece. Yep, you guessed right. We all wrote it. High school students, okay, way back in the day. This is when I was, a junior in high school. So if you want to look into my history and do opposition research, bring it, okay? Because you're going to find a 4.0 average. Actually, it might be like a 3.98 because I do not like chemistry. But besides that, you're going to find a long, strong educational history behind me. You'll also find some ex-boyfriends and one ex-husband who might have some stupid shit to say about me. But what? Who gives a fuck? Because you know what? Donald fucking Trump has 2 ex-wives, the second of which was the result of adultery. Okay, he tried to convince Marla, as recorded publicly on Howard Stern before he ever thought of these political aspirations due to Ivanka's stupidity. Anyway, That man told everyone in the world, via Howard Stern's provocative and supposedly hilarious show, that he had tried to talk Marla into aborting Tiffany, which they didn't know if it was a boy or a girl at that time. But as soon as she was born and they knew it was a girl, and they did their first little press release, and they were sitting there on some, gold-laden, satin-covered, luxurious, rich people, billionaire couch. And you know what they said? Marla said, "I'd love for you all to meet my beautiful baby girl." Normal person. I mean, and you know what Trump said? I'd like for you to guess for a second. Just sit there for a second. About a baby, a newborn. Well, he saw that that newborn was a female, and his remarks, look this up if you don't believe me, it's on a video. His remarks were, I don't quote them because I didn't memorize them. I usually block things he has said, but in this case it stuck with me because it seared an injury into my brain. He said, "We know he got his mother's long legs. We don't know if she got this, and we won't know for another maybe 10, maybe 12 years, maybe 15. That's how he spoke about his newborn baby. And yeah, let's talk about redemption. If he is redeemed and a born-again Christian, well then, couldn't every possible Democrat also be redeemed under your worldview? Well, yeah, because you know what? Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, and many of yours, although not all of yours, and I respect you people too, you know what? All of you have a place in the United States. I have the right to believe what I believe. You have the right to believe what you believe. But what I do know for a fact is I believe the red letters in the Bible, you know, the stuff that Jesus actually said. And you know what he said? He said, protect and care for the poor. He said, love thy neighbor as thyself. He said, do not follow the false prophets, right? Sadducees, Pharisees, you know what? You can use your language if you want to. I'm just saying what he was basically saying. And you know what he most importantly delivered to us? Love. God is love. Does that ring any bells? Well, if you don't know what the definition of love is, look in 1 Corinthians 13, and you will find a very, very clear definition of love. And if you look into that and you look into Donald John Trump's eyes, you will not see anything similar there. Jesus Christ was a Jewish carpenter born in the Middle East. Y'all have some nerve painting him with blue eyes and white skin in the first place, much less using his fine and beautiful name to bash anyone, much less using any context from the Old Testament before the new covenant with all of us, from the Old Testament justifying any form of slavery or bigotry or misogyny. So y'all can put all of that to rest because y'all lost all claim on being high and mighty and being the party of righteousness when y'all got behind basically the Antichrist. Okay, I'm just gonna say it for what it is. He couldn't have been more opposite from Jesus. He led y'all down the dark path of violence into what literally looked like hell. All right, so walk away from Donald Trump and walk at least towards some kind of light. Stay a Republican if you must, but pick rational Republicans who wouldn't acquit a criminal of a crime we all witnessed when it happened live, and then we all saw play by play by play, minute by minute by minute, second by second with timestamps. And Trump, at the very end, he gave a little milquetoast statement, stay peaceful. Excuse me? He watched that unfold all day. He saw blood dripping from a crushed officer's face. He saw eyes being gouged out of an officer's eye sockets by a criminally minded, malicious, evil Trump supporter. And don't you tell me that was Antifa. Don't you even fucking try, okay? Because there's proof. All these people went right back to their platform, which all of a sudden became Parler because they were kicked off of everything for their seditious lies. They went on Parler and stupidly posted their own faces doing this shit, talking about their hero, Donald Trump, saying how proud he would be for them for bringing the cavalry And by the way, that was not anything about Calvary. And that's directed to the man who has to tap his head due to being an Orthodox Jew, which I do respect, but I don't respect any of the lies you espoused in the courtroom that day. And I understand how every American is entitled to a defense, because that's also part of how we run our country. But Donald John Trump was not entitled to any lies on his behalf. And under your argument, any lies or even attempts to mislead disqualifies all the argument. So you know what? By your own logic, your whole argument was disqualified when you lied to us. Not about that or tried to intentionally mislead us about a typo made by someone who was clearly meaning to say cavalry, as in battalion of soldiers coming to do a war, you know? Well, that was intentionally misleading, as was all the talk about the procedural argument around the constitutionality of the proceedings. That has been settled, bitches. Okay, there is precedent. And I double checked and looked it up. There is precedent for this, okay? Under the law, we do have the highest level of protection for free speech for our president. But I'm gonna tell you something. He cannot and will not commit crimes that lead to death on purpose for his own wicked, disgusting, wretched attempts to grab power and become an authoritarian. And not just that, a tyrant. And where was he going to go from there with that? You know, this is how banana republics happen. And we are the United States of America. We are a beautiful and strong country, okay? Do you see this flag behind me? You don't get to hijack that flag, right wing. Y'all can go ahead and keep your damn Trump flags and your damn Confederate flags, because we all need a signal about who still believe in that bullshit that was sent out by QAnon and Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and other groups obnoxiously named after noble things that do nothing but evil. Okay? So nobody gets to call this anything but the beautiful flag of these United States of America. And you know what? We follow our Constitution. You know how that starts? Do you? Do you even know the preamble? Huh? And I'm talking to you again, Shelley Moore Capito. And hey, by the way, Senator Manchin, rock on. That took courage. I know that you have to be bipartisan. I know this electorate. I know. I understand. I'm not saying I would do it that way. I'm not saying I wouldn't either. And I'm not speaking for my husband or any political party or any candidate running for any office in any land. I'm speaking for Marilyn Monahan, which is me. So anybody who's pissed off that sees this, come at me. Bring it. I have run out of fucks to give. And I do realize this is protected speech because of Brandenburg. And if you want to look up that case, it was Brandenburg versus Bible believers, or Bible believers versus some shit. But I do know that it's now called the Brandenburg clause or rule or test. I think it's test. I think you have to look at the free speech, and if it passes this test that was named after this case, then fine. Supposedly it's, you know, not incitement to insurrection if the those who to be incited were not in a certain distance of proximity to the person trying to incite the right. That's just a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, I appreciate the fact that I can say anything the fuck I want now and still get elected to public office like Donald Trump did. I appreciate a couple of other things that he did. With his wife that was out there nude, unabashedly. If anybody does find nudes of me, bitch, I'm proud of that shit. That's my body, okay? Made by God. Come at me. You come at me with opposition research. Try it, okay? Because you are not on a high horse anymore. You never were. And to make it perfectly clear, your pastors led you astray. So find a better church. Fire your pastor or stop expecting tax exemptions. All right, I got other stuff to say, but this video has gone on longer than I meant for it to. This was going to be a quick one, and I was going to cheer everybody up, so I'm going to try to do that at the end here. Okay. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, Lord, I want to be in that number. When the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Shelly, you're not gonna be in that number, 'cause you're gonna go down in shame. Peace out, y'all. Bye.